Welcome! In this video, I will explain the full breakdown of the ACT test and all the expectations of each section. The ACT is one of the most important tests a student will ever take, so it is vital to understand all test sections. The ACT is composed of 4 multiple choice sections: English, Math, Reading, and Science, and 1 optional essay section, which will be writing. The English test will consist of 75 questions in 45 minutes. I forgot to add, the reading section will be 40 questions in 35 minutes. The math test consists of 60 questions in 60 minutes. The science test will contain 40 questions in 35 minutes. The writing section is optional, but you will have to write 1 essay in 40 minutes. Each question that is answered correctly on the ACT is counted, and no points are deducted for incorrect answers, so try your best to answer all questions if possible. Each test score ranges from 1, which is the lowest, to 36, which is the highest. The composite score will be the average score of all 4 sections. The English test will cover grammar and usage, punctuation, sentence structure, strategy, organization, and style. There will be 4 choice, multiple choice questions. There are 2 types of ACT English test questions. This will be usage mechanics and rhetorical skills. There will be a total of 40 usage mechanics questions. It will consist of punctuation questions, grammar and usage questions, and sentence structure questions. There will be a total of 35 rhetorical skills questions. These will consist of strategy, organization, and style. Now let me break it down a little further. There will be 7 to 11 punctuation questions. For example, commas, apostrophes, periods, semicolons, dashes, explanation points, and more. There will be 11 to 15 grammar and usage questions. For example, pronoun agreement, subject-verb agreement, pronoun forms and cases, adverbs, adjectives, verb forms, idioms, and comparative and superlative modifiers. There will be 15 to 19 sentence structure questions. For example, run-on or fused sentences, dependent or subordinate clauses, sentence fragments, comma splices, misplaced modifiers, shifts in pronoun, person, or number, shifts in verb tense or voice, and more. There will be 11 to 15 strategy questions. For example, how a sentence fits with the purpose, focus, and audience of a paragraph or the essay, adding, deleting, or revising sentences. There will be 7 to 11 organization questions. For example, order and focus of paragraphs or sentences, transitional, opening, and closing statements or phrases. And there will be 11 to 15 style questions. For example, tone, writing style, clarity, and effectiveness, clarifying awkward or vague material, and eliminating redundant material, wordiness, and ambiguity. I have a link in the description where you can review English ACT practice questions. Reading ACT tests consists of reading comprehension of what is implied or directly stated. There will be 4 choice, multiple choice questions. These questions will require reasoning and referring. 3 contain 1 long prose passage, and 1 contains 2 shorter prose passages, and each section will contain a set of multiple choice questions that go with it. There are 3 categories of assessed skills: key ideas and details, which will take up 55 to 60%, craft and structure, which will be 25 to 30%, and integration of knowledge and ideas, which will be 13 to 18%. Key ideas and details will be determining central themes and examples by reading each passage closely, summarizing ideas and information accurately, drawing logical conclusions and understanding relationships, and understanding comparative, sequential, and cause-effect relationships. Craft and structure will be analyzing the author's word choice, determining the meanings of words and phrases, analyzing the structure of text, understanding purpose and perspective, analyzing characters' point of views, and differentiating between various perspectives. Integration of knowledge and ideas will be differentiating between facts and opinions, understanding authors' claims, making connections between various texts with evidence, analyzing how authors construct arguments, and evaluating evidence and reasoning. ACT reading practice questions will be linked in the description. The writing section is optional, but it will assess your writing skills through an essay prompt. Each student will be given one essay question, and they will get 40 minutes to plan, write, and edit their essays. The types of essay prompts include addressing contemporary issues, expository writing, rhetorical analysis, and evaluative argument. These questions will encourage critical thinking about topics. Students must develop their own unique perspective while explaining the relationships between various viewpoints. You might be wondering whether or not your child should register for the ACT writing test. I recommend checking the testing requirements for the colleges they're interested in applying to. However, most colleges either require or highly recommend students take this portion of the test. Click the link in the description to see which colleges require ACT writing. The Math ACT test will cover the following content and skills: pre-algebra, elementary algebra, and intermediate algebra, coordinate geometry, plane geometry, and trigonometry. The math questions will be 5-choice, multiple-choice questions. ACT math test requires you to solve practical math problems using reasoning skills. Most questions are self-contained, but some belong to a set of questions. You may use a calculator on the ACT math test. You should have knowledge of basic formulas and computational skills, but complex formulas and extensive computation is not required. Now, there will be 3 main categories covered in the ACT math test. Preparing for higher math will be 57 to 60%, integrating essential skills will be 40 to 43%, and modeling will be over 25%. Now, there are 5 components to the preparing for higher math section. Number and quantity will be 7 to 10% and will require demonstrating understanding of real and complex number systems, reasoning with numerical quantities in many forms, integer and rational exponents, and vectors and matrices. Algebra will be 12 to 15% and it will be graphing, solving, and modeling various types of expressions, employing different types of equations, linear, radical, polynomial, exponential relationships, and finding solutions to systems of equations. Functions will be 12 to 15% and it will be demonstrating knowledge of function definition, representation, notation, and application, linear, radical, polynomial, piecewise, and logarithmic functions, manipulating and translating functions, and finding and implying important graph features. Geometry will be 12 to 15% and it will be applying knowledge of and defining shapes and solids such as surface area, volume measurements, congruence, similarity relationships. It will be understanding object compositions, solving for missing values in circles, triangles, and other figures, and using equations and trigonometric ratios. Statistics and probability will be 8 to 12% and will be describing the spread and center of distributions, analyzing and applying methods of data collection, modeling relationships in bivariate data, and calculating probabilities. Integrating essential skills will be addressing concepts typically learned before 8th grade. For example, rates, percentages, area, surface area, proportional relationships, volume, median, average, and expressing numbers in various ways. Students will be solving problems that increase in complexity. Modeling will be all questions involving the production, interpretation, evaluation of, and understanding and improving models, which are also counted within the other categories. I have linked math practice questions in the description. The ACT science test will cover interpretation, evaluation, analysis, reasoning, and problem solving. The questions will be 4-choice, multiple-choice questions. Several sets of scientific information will be presented, each followed by a set of multiple-choice questions. Scientific information is displayed in 3 different formats. Data representation, which will be 30 to 40%. It will include graphs, tables, etc. Research summaries, which will be 45 to 55%. This will be descriptions of various related experiments. And conflicting viewpoints, which will be 15 to 20%. This will include descriptions of related hypotheses and views that are inconsistent with each other. This test requires you to critically examine the relationships between the information provided, hypotheses developed, and/or conclusions drawn. You will also have to use given information to gain new information, make predictions, and/or draw conclusions. You cannot use a calculator for the ACT science test. The content covered includes biology, chemistry, physics, and earth-space sciences. So this would be meteorology, geology, and astronomy. Now there are 3 categories covered in the ACT science test. Interpretation of data will be 45 to 55%, and it will be analyzing and manipulating scientific data presented in graphs, diagrams, and tables, recognizing trends in data, interpolating and extrapolating, translating tabular data into graphs, and reasoning mathematically. Scientific investigation will be 20 to 30%. It will be understanding experimental tools, design, and procedures, identifying controls and variables, comparing, extending, and modifying experiments, and predicting results. Evaluation of models, inferences, and experimental results will be 25 to 35%. It will be judging the validity of scientific information and formulating conclusions and predictions based on information given. Click the link in the description to view ACT Science practice questions. In the near future, I will be making a video about the ACT test preparation best practices. However, I will say this now. It is vital that students have an instructor to guide them through test preparation. I will also explain later exactly why it is so important and the differences it actually makes in students' test scores. But good news! Time for Homeschool offers ACT test preparation classes starting the month of July. It will start July 5th and end August 23rd. It will be 8 weeks long every Monday and Wednesday. In-center or virtual options with a live instructor. Each class will be made up of small groups of 5 students. It is $499 with installments available. Here's the full breakdown. Click the link in the description to learn more. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you gained a lot of valuable information, and stay tuned for next week's video about ACT test preparation best practices.